Get 'em.
Welcome, folks. Y'all come on in and make yourself at home. This here, well, this is the Rolling Thunder Podcast, your home for all things Rolling Thunder. This episode is brought to you by Mossy Oak, because everything is better in Bottomland. Kent Cartridge, quality matters, performance counts. Chene gear, waterfowl gear that is built better. And Benelli USA, dominate the skies.
Alrighty, welcome to this episode of the Rolling Thunder Podcast. Spence, we are sitting here inside of Chene, the Memphis location, with our good friend, Mr. Jeff Jones. Mr. Jeff, how are you today?
I'm good. Glad y'all are here, man.
Jeff is the best podcast guest that you would never expect. You have hallway conversation with Jeff, you would think this guy will be a terrible podcast guest. And then you put the headphones on him, and he's the greatest podcast guest of all time.
He just comes to life.
Yeah, I get to come out of my shell.
On the
he's a gamer.
On the outside, I just want to set the expectations really high. I mean,
thanks for leading into it. I would have felt a lot better if you'd been like, "Oh man, he sucks."
Honestly, one of our highest all-time listens is the podcast you did with us before the brand launched.
Oh, really?
And on the material, and I mean, when building better waders was a novel idea.
Yeah.
Yep.
Been a lot of miles since then.
It has been a lot of miles, a lot of days, everything.
Yeah,
Unbelievable to see how it's grown and where it's come from.
Yeah, you kind of lose track of time because you get bogged down in everything that's going on and growing and all new people and this and that, and you're like, you'll get to thinking like, no, we did it this way last year when we did this, and you're like, no, that was 3 years ago.
I laughed because Carter made a post after the grand opening on social media, and he's like, 4 years ago we were on the road trade showing. And I was like, 3 years ago, Jeff was the only employee and I was trade showing with RT. And it's like, but then I laughed because I was like, that's when you birth a brand like that, that's what, 1 year feels like 5 years, I mean, it's just month to month and you're figuring stuff out, and it's really exciting.
Yeah,
so.
it's fun. It's fun to look back. It's, you get kind of caught up in having everybody here and what's going on, and, everybody's trying to do the best job they can and new ideas and this and that. So you get a moment every now and then when it's like just me and Morgan, or just me, Morgan, and Carter, or just me and Carter, like people that were here from day one. And you're like, oh, man, remember when we did this? Thought it was the greatest thing ever?
Yeah, it is wild to just see how far it's come, and I certainly felt that way interacting with you guys in Stuttgart. I mean, what a beautiful facility, and what'd that feel like?
So I mean, that's a long. So kind of on that path, what we were just talking about. If you go all the way back to when we were first in Memphis, moved to non-con, and we were like, man, we're something. We've got a warehouse attached to an office. Morgan's got her own office. I've got my own office, and we were selling. We had 6 waders hanging on a rack in a hallway, and we were selling them to customers. And we thought, this is great.
Multiple times you sold the display, the display model.
Yeah, it was like, no, I got these here to try on, and the customer like, no. I'm leaving.
Yeah. These are coming with me. Yeah.
So you look at that, and now that in Memphis, where it's an actual showroom, it went from being a hallway to a showroom, then a remodeled showroom 3 times. So we have what we have in Memphis at HQ, and now you look at Stuttgart. The idea of, hey, let's go over there and open a pop-up shop. I think it was thrown out at one point in time in the beginning of like, we could just put a tent up for duck season. Like, we could do better than a tent. We could build a building for duck season. We'd just be open just from opening day to the ending day and be open for the season to now having 20,000 square feet under roof, staffed with a dozen employees, and like, okay.
And need another 2 dozen.
Yeah, you're like, well, it went from an idea to the final concept to to that grand opening that we had with people wrapped around the building twice. Like, I don't care who you are. I do not care. Nobody saw that coming.
No, I agree.
It was an idea, and you wanted to be there. You wanted to be in a place where you wanted to be where the duck hunters were, and it kind of evolved from an idea of, at one point in time, it was like, you know what, we'll just set up at boat ramps and sell waders to building a store in the duck capital of the world.
Yeah.
So it is crazy insane.
I know that you worked pretty hard at the grand opening. I saw you working the cash register and working the door. How old are you?
I'm 50 years old.
In your career, that had to be a pretty sweet moment.
Yeah, it was. Stuttgart has always been kind of special to me. So it's been a special place. The first time I went, it's funny. I can look back on it. I really wanted my dad to be there because he took me to Stuttgart the first time.
Okay.
So we went there in 1988, and I watched Johnny Mephis win the world.
Wow.
And I remember the comments my dad and me made. I've duck hunted since I was a little kid. My dad's duck hunted his whole life. My granddad's a duck hunter. I mean, that's just what we did. We duck hunted. So I'd been around it, and when I went to Stuttgart and saw that calling contest and everything there, I was like, A, we don't know how to blow a duck call. And B, I thought we had ducks growing up, but this is where all the ducks live.
Did you grow up in Hope, Arkadelphia?
So right there in Texarkana, between Texarkana and Hope. So most of our family lives in Hope, Arkansas. We lived in Texarkana right on the state line. So we could kind of hunt back behind my parents' house, or we'd go to Hope and hunt over there.
And that's the Red River?
The Red River flows right by my parents' house. That's right. And then in Hope, it had that little small WMA, that Boat Ark WMA. And we'd hunt there a bunch, and that was true green timber.
Sure.
It was impoundment, and it was at that point in time in your life, like, I thought that was the greatest place in the world.
And then all of a sudden you got introduced to the Grand Prairie.
And then I saw Stuttgart, and I saw the White River, and I was like, nope, never leaving. And then, I'd be amiss if I didn't talk about, kind of my career growing up through this. And then when I got into college and moved over to Arkansas and got, we would duck hunt. We'd hunt the White River Refuge. It was just wide open. You could go anywhere you wanted. You'd hunt by Meta until it either got shot out or those ducks moved on. And at the time, I didn't really know it. I understand it a lot better now. Because back then, the white would flood, and you kind of had it in your mind that all the ducks left by Meta because of the pressure. They didn't. Because the White River bottoms pulled them out.
Right.
And that's just what happens over there. That white floods, and it takes every duck in that area. So that kind of moved us over and introduced us to hunting the white, whether it was at Preston's Ferry and going up. Then I discovered you could launch a boat in Clarendon, right in the middle of town. There was a boat ramp. I was like, great, I can go north. You could hit the cache. So I spent all those years hunting over there, and just kind of always been home. I love that area. Yeah. So then you kind of get into working in the outdoor industry through McAllister and all that, and I was one of the fortunate ones. I knew Max when it was on Michigan. I remember because they were a customer at McAllister, so we'd go in there and we'd sell them product, and I just rolled through the back door into the warehouse like I was supposed to be there. Yeah. I mean, that was just kind of how it was and how it operates. So I got to watch Max get built on Highway 63, get to watch it expand and all that. And so
worked a lot of weekends over there.
Worked a lot of weekends. And it's funny. I should say it's. So Jessie, my wife, it was always through my whole career at McAllister and then at Drake, all the years I was there, you worked every Thanksgiving. Like it was Thanksgiving. You have Thanksgiving dinner with the family, and then you leave and go to Stuttgart because you got to start setting up and you got to work that Wings Over the Prairie Festival and all this. Well, I've been out of that for, 5 years or so since we've been doing Chene direct consumer, not going over there. And it kind of dawned on her after grand opening. We were kind of making our plans, and she was like, "Who's going to come for Thanksgiving? We have some people from here coming. We're talking about it." And she said, "What are you going to do? What are we going to do after that?" I was like, "I'm probably going to go to the camp and get ready to be at the store." And I could see the light bulb go off, and all the memories come up. She goes, "Here we go again.
It's back."
We had almost an identical conversation because we've had a 4 or 5 year break from having to be over there every year. And, you're right. I didn't do it nearly as many years as you did, but that becomes such a part of I think probably because it's in the holidays, it's between Thanksgiving and Christmas. And so there's a million family things going on. It's just like it becomes a part of what your whole family does.
That's right.
And,
it's the identity of you and your family and everybody. They're just kind of behind it. It's a lot different for everyone now because even like grand opening, I had the girls over there and they were kind of working and doing different
than
stuff.
the years when Dad was working and everybody was at home. That's hard.
It's really hard.
I agree.
You would leave when they used to have to stay home because I was going over there to work. They're home and trying to go watch a movie or trying to do family stuff and. You know how it is, man. You go over there.
You feel like a colossal loser of a dad when they're sitting down to watch a Christmas movie and you're leaving.
Yeah.
Bye, I love you.
You're either leaving or you've been over somewhere working all day and you just call to check in. What's going on? Well, we're going to go watch a movie as a family without you.
So, well, I did think that was really neat. I enjoyed seeing your kids. I enjoyed seeing Field's kids, Jeff's kids. Everybody's kids were there. And all of our kids, mine included, are at an age where they're all very impressionable but also very capable of helping customers. And so it's just really cool to have such a family atmosphere involved in all aspects of it.
I like to see the kids kind of working together. I know mine got to go over and see Maddie some, and they, kind of vice versa. So it's cool. I think that's either the age that we're getting to, or the parent coming out in us when we can kind of see it through our kids that they're getting involved, and you really enjoy that.
It's a refreshing change from what working in Stuttgart used to mean for me away from my family.
That's right.
And I think for you too.
Oh, absolutely.
I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed the kids knowing each other and working together, and I enjoyed my wife being there, and it just wasn't like that. It didn't used to be like that.
No, back in the day, it was, it was way more of a job. Go get your job done and come back.
Yeah.
And now it's kind of a family event.
Yeah.
You're still working.
Yeah.
Stress is different, but you're still working. So.
We'll have the first 2 weeks met expectations, exceeded expectations, or did you have no idea?
No idea. You really don't. You just like anything else, you set a goal. This is what I think we can do, and this is what I feel like we should do. And then you've got your bottom goal. This is what I got to do, still live in that world. So it wildly exceeded any expectations that I had, for sure. Just listen, man, it's cool. It was really cool, and it was fun. But it was also very different because we opened that store on Saturday, November 9th. On Wednesday, there were people out front. On Wednesday, there were people out front.
That's 100% truth. That's when we moved our stuff in, and I saw them. That blew my mind.
And you honestly, man, just to be honest, you kind of feel a little bit guilty, or kind of, I don't even really know what the feeling is, but I was like, I would look out there and I'd see somebody on Wednesday. They were back on Thursday, and they were still there, and I was like, I hope I'm doing enough
to meet
with
the
this
level of
opening that meets their expectations.
Yeah.
I hope that I am, and I hope that we are as a group. That was a real feeling. I was
I agree.
Whatever we do, I do not want to disappoint that person that's been here since Wednesday. So I don't think we did.
Yeah.
I think everybody was pretty well happy. But for those early adopters, every time I looked out there and they were looking in, I swear they looked hungry. So we would get them breakfast, we'd get them lunch, we fed dinners, and
Open
and all
Seasons
that.
chipped in.
Open Seasons showed up with some gift cards. That was awesome.
That was cool.
But as far as like the waterfowl community as a whole, man, it was really cool.
I thought Friday night was also really cool for those that weren't there. Friday night, the line was pretty strong.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what the number was, but it was, I'm going to say it was approaching 100, between 70 and 100 or more. It wasn't any less than 70, let's just say. And everybody was scurrying around putting price signage on stuff and like hanging, I mean, literally the kind of the last minute getting everything over the finish line. And somebody in y'all's group decided to open the door and invite everybody in. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
Because there were some people that were like, wait, hold on, we're not ready. And it was like,
Too bad.
And I mean, we were, our calls weren't all there yet. Drake and Riley were still driving over with stuff. And it was just like, well, welcome. Like when you get to somebody's house for the holidays and you're like 3 hours early, you know,
Yeah.
Dinner's not ready. That's what it felt like.
Yeah, but it did feel like that. But the cool thing was, like, everybody that was like coming in the door and shaking hands and saying thank you for letting us in and just thank you for everything, they were like, what can we do to help?
Yeah, they were so grateful
Yeah.
and so willing to help because they're just sitting there. They've been watching everybody for a couple of hours through the windows,
Right.
scurrying around.
So they wanted to help. They wanted to do. I think people really like to be involved.
Yeah, of
And,
course.
and that's when you, just like at Rolling Thunder and different other things, that's when you really have it's kind of a cool brand going. When people just want to volunteer their time to
Connect
get behind
and-
the
yep,
scenes
yep.
and what can I do?
Yep.
You know, they're like, if you need stuff brought from the warehouse out front or boxes, you know, they're just willing to do anything.
Yeah.
And we weren't asking them to come in to help. We were just like, y'all need to come in. Come in and eat and have a good time. So
The other cool moment, there were a bunch of cool moments. The other cool moment that I really appreciated was that maybe at 7:30, sometime between 7:30 and 8:30 Saturday morning, the line was extensive. It was already wrapping around the buildings.
Snaking through the parking lot.
Oh yeah, and I mean, it all of a sudden it started raining hard. And everybody was standing there, looked like turkeys in a field, just head down. Not one person.
They did not leave the line.
flinched.
Oh, that's
Nobody
it.
got in a car.
And
Nobody got under an awning.
They knew they were past like the numbers that were getting door prizes. Like they knew, but they still weren't willing to give up like their spot in line because they wanted to be a part of what was happening. Yeah, it was cool to see.
And then, then a lot of them, almost every single one of them, went from that line of getting in the door to instantly into that cash register line. We were running cash registers and ringing people up as fast as we could to get them through.
But it was a
but
long
it
line.
wouldn't
till-
stop.
Yeah.
It was just a steady line out the front door. So that was awesome.
It was really neat.
So many people have, people I've been friends with forever, some Mossy Oak people and just different people that have been in the industry as long as I have, all of us would say, I've never seen anything like that. And I haven't. The Fox Vest launch was something I'd never seen anything like that.
It felt like that.
That's
the
it kind of had that
closest.
feeling of something. But this was a store opening. We had some really cool prizes for the first 100 or so that came in. But after that, it was just a shopping experience. So it was really cool. I will forever be grateful to the waterfowl community for that one.
Yeah, I agree. It was really neat. That'll be one of those things that you remember for a long time. Pushes you through some slow, hard days, you know, for sure. And I think it really speaks. It's a testament to the connection that you guys have made with the customer.
Yeah.
Whether it's through the film festival or now through the the flagship store opening in Stuttgart. I appreciate the fact that has mattered so much because it obviously matters to the customer. I mean, they came and showed out. And so that's what Built Better means.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, and it's an agreement. We've kind of said, we kind of had that tagline of, like talking about the waiters at first when we were just selling the waiter. It's like, we'll stand behind it as long as you stand in it. That it's an agreement. It's a connection with us and the customer. We're just, at the end of the day, we're just waterfowlers also. We just want to duck hunt.
That's
we
right.
want to have better hunts and not have problems. So the things that we want are the things the customers want. You just want that connection, So
Can I change gears on us?
oh yeah.
Tell us just a little bit about your career path to here.
Okay.
I know you alluded to it just a little bit. You grew up in Hope. But how did you get into the hunting industry?
So in 97, when I was getting out of college or getting to the end of college, you know, just like anything else, I got to find a job. You know, I have to find something to do.
I'm sure that your dad had great job advice.
Yeah.
What did he say?
This is not what you're going to do. I will come back to that. I have a great story about my dad and the job that I chose and the career that I have. I want to tell that story. I'll come back to that one in a minute. So we got to the point of, so I had to find a job, and I was, you know, starting to look around for jobs, starting to get to the end of my career and everything, and or my college career. And I went to a sporting goods store in Little Rock, and I was like, I'll get a part-time spring summer job until I can find a real job. And I went in there and I started talking to them about jobs, and they were like, well, it's getting kind of slow for us. We don't really have anything. He said, but I know these two guys that are launching a waterfowl company, and they're looking for someone. And those two guys ended up being Jason and Scott Perry. And then their dad, Dave Perry, they were starting the McAllister company and kind of got it started and were getting it off and going. And they had the shell vest, the wading vest, and just a couple other products. So I met with them, and of course they were great. They were like, yeah, we need help. Don't know what you're going to do, but we need help.
Yeah. You want on the team,
Yeah,
yes or no?
That's right. And it was a lot like, you know, kind of the stuff I did with Carter when he started here. You're going to work in the warehouse, and then you're going to go do this, you're going to do that, and just different things. So I started with McAllister Company, and it was such a small operation. You're just immediately in everything. And then kind of tying it back to Hope, at that time we were making a few products in Arkansas. In Hope, there was two sewing factories. It was called Columbia Sewing just because it was Columbia County next to Hempstead County. It was two brothers. One of them his factory did shirts and vests and jackets, and his brother's factory did pants. And they had just like almost all American manufacturing, they had government contracts. I think they made uniforms for the Coast Guard or something like that.
Okay.
And to kind of fill in, they took on McAllister's work. And I'd go over there and I'd work with them, and I was sourcing fabric in and just doing all these different things. Had no idea what I was doing.
Literally filling gaps.
Yeah.
I mean,
you're just plugging holes in a wall. That's all you really do. And one of those owners, one of those brothers that had that sewing mill said, listen, someone at this company is going to have to learn how to make product, or y'all are all going to go out of business. And I looked around, and I happened to be the only one in the room. So I said, okay, I'll do it. I will learn what the factory needs. And Jason and Scott, they could work on marketing. Jason could work on, you know, just ideas of products. But there's a big gap between, hey, I've got an idea for something that I want to make,
and bringing it to market,
and put it out to the market, and a factory actually being able to make that happen. You know, it's kind of like,
and a language to speak between those two.
There's a language,
Sure.
There's measurements, there's math, and then there's the actual physical of, we can do this in a factory process, or we can't do that. And there's cost to learn and all these different things. So I took advantage of that, not knowing where it would lead or not knowing anything about it, but just the fact that the factory said, I'm going to teach you how to make products the way a factory needs to know how to make products. And then you can go and design and build whatever you want, but you'll have the knowledge of how it's got to work. So I always kind of tell people, I came into building products the backwards way. I came into it how a factory needs to receive it, how a factory needs to understand, and what the capabilities can happen in a factory. And then I took that knowledge and I put it to the design work that I then got to start doing. So I got to start working on different products and different things as McAllister grew, and things shifted around and changed. And that was kind of the birth of my outdoor career. And then in 2002, Drake Waterfowl bought McAllister. And the unique thing about then is Drake had a fulfillment partner. They had a company out of Maryland called C.R. Daniels, and that C.R. Daniels would inventory all the product. They would do all the shipping and everything like that. But part of C.R. Daniels, the tie back into it was, that's who McAllister was buying the wax canvas cloth from. So when they, in C.R. Daniels' mind, when they bought McAllister with Drake, it made them more vertical.
Okay.
Because they were producing the raw goods. McAllister was a customer, turning it into a product. So it kind of, that's how it ended up that Drake bought them.
I got you.
So that was at the end of 2002. So January 2003, I moved to Olive Branch, Mississippi with Drake to do Drake and McAllister. And I stayed there until launch of Chene.
So in 2002, when you started with Drake, everybody was wearing neoprene waders.
Oh, yes.
And
well,
canvas was about out.
Yeah.
It was still around.
It was, so at that point in time of life, neoprene was still a fairly new concept for hunting waders. It had kind of been in the fishing world for a little while, but hunting
with mostly stocking foot kind of stuff.
Hunting was late to adapt to it. And then, so it's sometime in that time frame, Hodgman kind of was taking off with the neoprene, and they had a way of attaching the boot to it, so it moved from a stocking foot to a boot foot wader with some insulation in it.
And they put felt on the inside of the wader so that you sweated like
crazy.
That was my college years of. We thought we were hot stuff with, and we were hot.
You were hot with that felt liner, yeah.
But I mean, you got to think about it too. Like, if you adopted neoprene and you started wearing it, it was so much more comfortable than that canvas
and flexible
that you were
like
came out of.
Right.
I mean,
right.
I'm not the biggest person in the world, and when I had to put on a size 10 boot in that canvas wader, like, someone else could have got in there with me.
That's right. The Cabela's Brush Busters waders with 1,000 denier were nearly indestructible, but man, they were like, it was like walking in two casts. I mean, your legs were stiff and sheesh.
And then the thing about neoprene is it's like anything else. When something came out new and you got it kind of figured out, you thought, man, this is the greatest stuff ever. But what you didn't know and what you didn't realize is you would start a season with a neoprene wader that weighed 7 or 8 pounds, wear it all season long, and at the end of the season, that thing would be somewhere between 16 and 18 pounds. Because it's done nothing but absorb water all season. Because all neoprene is a sponge.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it's just absorbing that water into that wader. Wow. That's why you could hardly ever get them dry. You know, that's why they wouldn't last and they'd fall apart and do stuff like that. But it was.
But in the grand scheme of things, at Drake, you guys made pretty good neoprene waders. They were better than a lot of the competition.
They were. We made a good wader at Drake. And had some new innovation, magnets and stuff. And it was the first wader with a knee pad in it. And the very first one we made had this super it was the idea of you didn't want to have a buckle on your shoulder, and you didn't want to have that plastic buckle that always breaks. So it had this super complicated webbing buckle system that nobody could figure out. That quickly went away. But I mean, you just, it's like anything else that you do. You try. You try new things. You try to build it out, and there was some good stuff that came through there.
So, at what point in the history of waders and the history of your career, when did breathable waders start to show up?
Breathable waders showed up in the mid to early 2000s. I remember seeing some Hodgman in about 2004, 2005.
Okay.
But it may have even been before that. I know at Drake, they made one in 2008 that was a breathable wader, 2007, 2008.
Okay.
So it was probably 2004, 2005. Hodgman had one out. The problem was the customer was not ready. They were not ready for it. So the fly fishing world always have been real early adopters to things, able to jump on stuff and see the benefits of it and all that. Waterfowlers tend to not be. They tend to, just like anybody else in that waterfowl hunts, you tend to focus on it is going to be blizzard freezing cold when I'm out there, you know, and that's what you want. You want that.
You prepare for that and
right,
take a layer
you want
off.
that heavy gear, and you want these heavyweight, 3 mil, 5 mil, 7 mil waders with either the felt or the insulation in them. That was the concept of waterfowlers. So those very early breathables that came out, they just didn't work. You know, they either didn't sell or there was problems with them or anything like that. It wasn't until much later that the breathable technology caught up into hunting.
When did it take off? What year? 2010?
Probably 2010 to, I don't know, man. I'm not sure. It wasn't probably like 2012, 2014 that it really kind of gained hold and people adopted to it. When they started figuring out a way to put insulation layers in it, the waterfowler's concept of getting it came around. Now, it was done horribly, and it didn't work because you couldn't seam seal it. You couldn't seal it all up the way it was being done. But in their mind, now it's got insulation.
They were willing to try it.
Now I'm going to try it.
My favorite pair of waders that you made at Drake had the neoprene below the belt buckle, and then you had you had breathable up top. They were like hybrids. That would have been right before everything was breathable.
That was pretty much that was that was the idea. You were trying to really push into that breathable market, but the consumer was still looking at the other one. So you kind of, the idea and thought behind that was, hey, I'm going to be in water up to my waist or knees or wherever it is, and then you get this breathable top. So the concept of that wader was a really good wader. It was a really good idea.
It absolutely got me from neoprene to breathable because you all of a sudden it was better than just a pair of. There were lots of waist high neoprene waders, but if you went after a cripple quick, you didn't have much room for error because if you stumbled to your knee or anything, you were getting water in. But that wader had so much mobility up top that it was kind of like,
yeah, and it kind of helped with their ideas and concept of, you know, I can wear a jacket under this, or I can kind of build layers and just builds on.
So when it went from neoprene to breathable, did neoprene just go away?
No, I mean there's still neoprene waders offered today. I mean it really is still out there in the marketplace.
I'm embarrassed to admit that I didn't really even realize that.
When did they retire the last pair of neoprene?
Yeah, no, man, they're still making them, still putting them out.
But from a product standpoint at Drake, y'all went, to weigh the majority of your waders were breathable.
Yeah, you moved completely away from neoprene. And then because at that time, there were so many factors at that time too, you kind of get into a point of neoprene sponge is based around, so you got to 12 and 14. Remember when gas price shot up to $5 a gallon around then, and everybody's like, I'm not going to be able to duck hunt because I can't buy gas to get there.
Right.
Well, you did.
Right.
You went anyway.
That's right.
That had a huge effect on neoprene waders because a neoprene wader, it's probably 60 or 70% of it is petroleum based.
Okay.
That's how that neoprene sheeting's made. There's a lot of gas in it. So the price started skyrocketing. So now manufacturers are going, now I'm going to be out of my price point. My retailer can't make his margin. I can't make the margin. We're not going to be able to sell these. So that also kind of helped push the breathable. So there was a lot of factors going into it as technology changed too. So.
This is a naive question, is the wader that you make today what you would consider to be a breathable wader?
Yes.
How would you categorize it?
Just the way that the material and the function, how it works. So let's define what breathable is.
Right.
Breathable is, it's not your breath. You're not blowing through something. You're not. It's not a paper towel or a buff or a face mask we all had to wear during COVID. You're not breathing through it. That's not what breathable means. Breathable means that. Let me get nerdy for a second. Your body's 98.6 degrees. You're going to go into a 40-degree water. That's a 58-degree temperature change. So just like as you're sitting here today, you may not be sweating, but there's gases and there is moisture coming off of your body. That's what happens to us all day long. A breathable material takes those gases and that condensation or that moisture that's developing on your body and moves it away from your body, moves it into the layers of fabric, moves it to the outside, and then it can dissipate in the air. That's what breathable is. It's not necessarily the breath.
So like a PVC waiter, for example, is not breathable.
Never going to be breathable.
Which is why you freeze to death, because you have condensation on your body and then you have cold outside temperatures pressing that.
So all those gases and stuff that come off your body that hit a layer of PVC that can't go anywhere, now it turns to moisture.
Mm-hmm.
Now it turns to water and it comes back on your body and it builds in there and you freeze. You get insanely cold.
Right.
So that's what happens to that one.
While we're on the nerdy topic of fabric and your current waders, talk a little bit about the transition from polyester to nylon.
Yeah.
You've kind of hung your hat on nylon.
Yeah, I have. Nylon is, without, there's no argument, there's no question about it. It is a much more durable, the way it's made, the way it's woven together. Nylon's so much more durable than polyester. The tensile strength, the tear factor behind it, you can't get past that. The downside to nylon, so if you go back 6 or 8 years, the downside to nylon is you couldn't paper print it. So the whole world was doing polyester and making jackets and whatever out of polyester because the camo companies had come up with this paper printing method so that you could buy paper with the camo print on it. You could buy your fabric and it went through a machine and it heat transferred that camo print right onto it. And you got this really beautiful looking vibrant colors and it just popped and did all that. And that worked great with polyester. Does not work with nylon. Nylon, you either have to wet print it, kind of like a old cotton, how the cotton camo stuff kind of comes in a little bit dull. And then along the way, they also developed a process called digital printing, which is almost just like a copier. It's basically putting fabric in a giant copier and you're printing it. They developed that for building strike-offs and building small run samples because they never in their wildest dreams thought somebody would be dumb enough to run it for production because the cost is so high, the time is so slow. Like, oh, no one will ever do that. Lo and behold, I came along. I was like, no, that's exactly what I want to do. So Fabric Mill's like, look at this idiot. But doing that, digitally printing allowed us to use nylon.
Mm-hmm.
And because we were using nylon, I had seen and heard of a process, a way that you could build your seams without stitching. And granted, look, man, I'm not the smartest tool in the shed at all. But if I can build a wader without tearing it up, and by tearing it up, I mean when you sew a wader, when you sew a waterproof fabric, you're punching 11 holes every inch to make your stitches.
And then you're complaining that it leaks.
Then you're adding tape onto it to repair what you just tore up.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if there's another way to build this without doing that, tell me about that.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see what that process is. So I'd kind of learned about that when I was across the pond, as they say. And I was like, well, I've got this idea here. Want to do nylon fabric. Want to do digital print. Let's put all this together and see what we can make. And that's where the Chene wader came from. And it really is, in my opinion, in my experience of life of building waders, that is the best way to build a wader, and it's the best material to build it out of. Just unarguable that it's stronger than polyester.
Yeah, my hunting experiences would validate that.
Yeah. Now, it doesn't keep people from tearing them up. People will tear a wader up in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
But it reduces how easily they're torn up or how quickly they're torn up. And then the other side of it is it allows you to fix it if they do tear it up.
So the nylon is easier to repair?
Absolutely.
Or more effective to repair, both? I mean, I guess.
Yeah, you can get some like the equipment that we have that we build the waders with, the same kind of equipment that we fix the waders with. So we were able to buy it, bring it in, and we can do repairs to them, turn it right back around to you. You know, so
That's incredible. I'm sure nobody's trying to get their waders repaired this week.
Oh, no, not right before duck season. No, there's certainly no customers that have said, you know, we
Any
offer,
chance I could have these Friday afternoon?
we offer that end-of-season review, and I encourage every single person that buys a wader, at the end of the season, box it up, ship it to us, let us go through it. We'll clean it up for you. We'll put sealant on the boots. We'll do the zipper. We'll put some fabric treatment on it. Like, we love to do end-of-season reviews because we know if we go through them and we work on them, it's just going to extend the life of that wader. You're not going to be upset. And then in February, March, and April, in May, I have a lot of people here, and we're not that busy. So I love end-of-season review waders because it keeps people busy.
Yeah.
But inevitably, 3 or 4 days before duck season, people go, you know what? I didn't do my end-of-season review.
You said there.
And I got a wader. I need my wader. And season opens
I
Saturday.
might have tore those last year. Did I tear those? Yeah.
I'm going to bring them by. You get them for me tomorrow? Yeah.
Please tell me you have a box back there of things you have found in people's pockets.
Oh, my
from
gosh.
end-of-season repair.
One box wouldn't do it. One box would not do it. You know?
Imagine.
And I'm like, hey, I'm not here to judge.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I'm sure we can imagine the typical things.
I am not here to judge, and I am not here to rat you out. But if you send your waders in and there's some inappropriate things in the pockets, we're going to talk about it here.
That's like that old adage your mom always said, you know, make sure when you leave the house you don't have holes in your underwear. You never know when you're going to the hospital.
Yep. All right, so just mid-episode PSA for anybody that's going to send their waders in the future, check your pockets beforehand.
Please check your pockets. Please.
All right, so let's drill down just a little bit on product line stuff.
Yeah.
What is before we talk shin gear, what's your most favorite product you've developed in your career?
Oh, in my whole career? Oh, man. I'd have to think about that one for a minute.
Doesn't necessarily have to be the biggest win, but just something you're really proud of.
Let me think that through for a little bit.
We can come back to it.
I do love the Chene wader. I mean, I'm not saying that because of, you know,
You don't have
being
to
one of
defend
the
saying
owners
that.
or anything, but I am really proud of that wader.
You should be.
I'll think that through. What was my favorite product?
All right, so I know you can't publish a list of wins and losses in your product development career, but in your mind, your list of wins and losses, what's been your most surprising win? Something that you really didn't think was going to do that well, and you're like, wow.
I mean, honestly, if I go back to my Drake days, and look, I'm very proud of all the work that I did when I was at Drake, and I'm still proud of Drake now, just because I'm a competitor. I mean, a lot of those guys are still friends. So I really like them. When I went to Drake, they were working on building that equator, which was their answer for waterproof, breathable upper and arms, and then super breathable fleece below it. They had a couple styles they were working on. After I'd been there for a while, I developed one that I really liked, kind of changed some different things to it, and thought it was a good product. I didn't never love it. You know, it was one of those things where I was kind of asked to make improvements to it and to work on it, and I did a lot of work to it, and I really thought I put a good product out, but I never really loved it. It's surprising what that item has done. It really is. If I ever were to look back on something and say that's something that I've seen a lot of them created, it would be that one. That, and then that wing shooter shirt, I kind of got an award for that. I actually did that at McAllister before going to Drake. So that's
You
something.
got an award for that?
Yeah.
What award?
It was like it won like a Gray's Best at the time. It won a Field and Stream award. It was just kind of one of those really cool pieces.
I mean, I have a whole closet.
Yeah,
full of
a lot of people do.
Yeah.
That's the crazy thing about that. A lot of people do.
I have them in every color and every. I mean, yeah, I've got a lot of them.
Yeah.
I feel guilty wearing them now because of my friendship
Oh
with
man,
you. But
it doesn't bother me.
they fit
like I
chubby
said,
guys like
wears
me
them in secret.
perfectly.
right. Like I said, I don't have anything against them. Everybody do what they can, but that was a surprising item there. Also, that was probably. I think that if you said wins and losses, that would be a big win. Was that wing shooter shirt? And not saying I was anything special, but it wasn't a whole lot of effort. It was like, yeah, okay, I want to try to build a shirt.
Mm-hmm.
End up doing that, and
All right,
it was
all right,
huge
so-
for them.
So on the other side, you don't have to call them losses. You can call it an opportunity. But give me a product story of something that you thought would do great, and you were just like shaking your head that it didn't do as good as you thought it would.
Made a bag one year, again at Drake, just talking, just part of it. Made a bag there called the SUV bag. And in my mind, and a little bit about kind of how I am, I'm kind of keep all my stuff together.
Mm-hmm.
And that SUV bag was this giant bag made to go in the back of an SUV vehicle. And on the left-hand side, it had a place you'd put your waders into it, and had a removable waterproof liner that came out of it if you needed to wash it. It had a mat that you could stand on so that you had a dry place to put your waders on. Then on the right-hand side of the bag, you could put your blind bag or shoulder bag down in the bottom.
Yeah.
Then it had this folding pad that came, and then you would put your jacket. Like, you could store everything in there. And
Is
it
your
was
closet this organized
just,
at
I
home?
know, it's super weird.
You're like the greatest husband of all time. And this is,
I am not.
I hope my wife does not listen to this.
I am not. As my wife would say, you're very neat. You're not clean, but you're very neat. So anyway, so it had all these compartments, and it had, like, if I was going to go with you, I'd grab that bag and we went. Everything was in it. Complete flop. Complete flop. Like, it sold great the first year, and they moved all these pieces, and in that world, you got to be so far ahead. You got to commit to what you're going to buy. Next year, complete flop.
Oh,
That was a big failure. Like, ouch.
that's so interesting. I can see how that would be so easy to market and so much to talk about, so much to photograph, but it's so not the way that I personally live my life. I've still got lingering crap in my truck from turkey season.
Yeah.
I was thinking, I was like, you started talking, I was like, conceptually, that makes a lot of sense. But it was like, that's never going to work.
It sounds like one of those things, too, that I could see my mom buying for me or my wife buying for
for
me.
Christmas.
And,
Yeah,
and
that's a holiday.
like the passive aggressive, like, hey, dummy, you need to clean
Yeah.
up your truck a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, so you did your whole career. Give me something in the last 12 or 24 months here that you thought was a big win, that you were surprised, maybe in terms of units or just that the customers adopted.
Man, they've really adopted a lot of stuff. I tell you what, I missed the mark on the wax wool sweater. So this year, everybody kind of tested it and wore it last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I should be more aware than what I am. I'm sorry, I'm an idiot. Because everybody that works here was wearing it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's kind of a judge that you do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'll watch just the people around here. What are they wearing?
Mm-hmm.
And kind of get an idea of, like, that product's going to be good. And everybody was wearing the wax wool sweater, but I just wasn't thinking. So put the order into the factory, sent it in. All those sweaters came in. We launched it, and a week later we were out of larges. And I was like, well, I missed that. I really messed that one up. A few days after that, we were out of XLs. So I had to turn around and...
That was in July?
Yeah.
So when y'all, wow.
Yeah. So I had to kind of turn around, jump through a bunch of hoops to get some more of them in so that we could, supply for the season. But that was a great big miss on my part.
I would have missed that one too.
Yeah.
I didn't see that coming. But I will say this. I I went to Canada a couple of weeks ago and hunted like right at Halloween. It was just getting really cold, and I took it with me. I bought one and took it with me, and I was kind of on the fence, and I wore it, and I'll wear it every single day that it's appropriate to wear.
Yeah. It really is a good product, and it's comfortable to have on. It's not heavy. It's not light. It gives you warmth. It sheds some wind.
I was worried that the wind would blow through it too much, and I didn't want to wear something on top of it. But I wore it with my bibs, and so the wax material up top was plenty, and like the body breathed. And I was like, man, this is pretty slick.
Yeah. So I admit I missed that one, but we recouped real quick. So we got them, and we've done well with it. Almost did the same with the chamois shirt, but I went a little bit heavier on it. So it's been really popular.
Can we get a tree stand in the chamois shirt for next year?
We'll see if I know a guy that might be working on one.
Okay.
But yeah, that would be a good one there. So that one's been good, and then the wax down vest. Like I immediately saw people responding to it when we sampled it and how they were wearing it. So we did well with that one.
We did a video last October or November in the shop. I had lunch with Farmer, and he gave me one of those, I guess a sample, a brown one, and I didn't even think about it and did a video. And we still get messages about, where did you get that vest? Because it's great. That waxed cotton vest is, I've had several like that, and I like that one better. It's the right thickness. It's not too puffy.
It has a good balance of insulation, fit, and all that. It's really good. And then I'll say I'm still to the day, like I've completely given up. Like I can't even think about them without stuttering through it. I've completely given up on caps. I just
the number of caps you sell.
Well, not only the number of caps, but like the style of the cap. Like what's popular, the hat you're wearing now. What's popular with everybody now? The higher crown, the ropes, and everything. Like
all right, so
I'm out. I cannot pick out.
Thank you.
What our headwear is going to be, but Dylan and Carter and James and everybody else can, and they've done a great job. But now I have to dig through them and go, man, I wish I had a hat I could wear around here.
So I was going to ask you that actually. How do you make that decision? You're the guy that holds the power.
Man, I don't. I encourage them to tell me what they like. And at the end of the day, when everybody says this is what we like and this is what's going to be popular and this is what our customer's asking for, I just write the PO. That's it. You know, you're in the same position I am. You started a brand based on a product that you made. And you wanted to put it out there, and you wanted to be behind that product and all that. And at some point in time, you have to shift from being the guy that makes the product to the guy that builds the team that makes the products. You've got to stop. And I have a picture on my phone. I can pull it up and show you. I screenshotted a person giving that speech at like a TED Talk. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. And I was like, you know what? You do. Because you can't, as a business owner or a business partner is the manager of what's going on at that business, you are so inundated all day long with everything that it takes to run a business, from warehousing to sales to marketing to product. You can't focus on the product. So my advice to everyone is build your team that can build the product. Give them direction, give them instruction, be present when they're going through it and talking through it. But at some point in time, you got to turn it over.
That is such a hard thing. I appreciate you saying that because I find the older I get, the more detached I am from what is popular. And, like, I got a pair of socks I like to wear, and I just got them on repeat order. You know what I mean? Subscribe and save on Amazon. But you can't run a business that way.
No, you can't run a business that way. You can't build a brand that way.
Right.
You know, that's not
well, in
how
fact,
it is.
there's changes in fashion, if you want to call it that, or whatever, the look, that people want. And it is like I can't keep up. And then at the same time, you got salespeople that are calling on you that are like, hey, this is going to be popular. and they may or may not be right.
No, we have a big thing around here, and it really is at the culture of this brand. We say team is brand. So to make team brand, you've got to listen to the team. You've got to give them the opportunity to say, and it's not just hats. People are very active in hats, waiters, everything that we make. You've got to let your team express their ideas and their opinions and their thoughts, and let them run with it and support it, or give them if it's not, at some point in time too, you still got to come down and go, no,
Yeah.
that's not us. We're not doing that, and this is why. But we have a excellent team here that is fully bought into that. So everybody's kind of on that.
You started to say something about when you have to say this is not us. You started to say a why. You started to say you have to do something in that conversation.
Well, you do. You can't just and that's a lot like being a parent too. You can't just say no. Someone brings you an idea, you can't just say no. If it's a no and it comes from inside the walls from the team, you've got to have an explanation and a reason so that they can understand why you're saying no. Because one of the worst things that you can tell somebody that works with you is no, because in their mind they've developed this idea.
Took some courage to bring it to the boss.
And took the courage to bring it forward. And if you shut it down without reason or explanation, you're kind of robbing them of that experience. So you got to look at it and go, all right, let's talk this through. And this is what I'm seeing. And man, and also too, just like anything else, I'm willing to be wrong. I am. If you can convince me or prove to me, then great.
All right. Tell us the story about your dad and the career.
Oh, it's so stupid now. We kind of got deep. Now we're going to go back to something that's really dumb. This is so stupid. I will just say this is so stupid. But it's a lot of my dad, and, he never really thought of this as a job. My dad is a really old school dad and man, and we work,
What did he do in his career?
He worked for the Red River Army Base, so he developed a lot of munitions and rockets. He did some stuff with a NASA program. He built some munitions that were used during the Gulf War. He did a lot of things. He was pretty well working. You ride in a vehicle with my dad, you'll never hear a song, ever. You're going to listen to the farm report, or you're going to listen to the news. That's it.
Staying abreast.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, so the man works, and he loves to work. And so he's really never kind of thought, he said, making duck hunting products for duck hunters is not a job, just so you know. Well, my kids eat pretty well, but anyway. So I'd had a bad day at work, and a guy had yelled at me for, this is so dumb. I swear I wish I hadn't brought it up, it's so dumb, over a can koozie.
Okay.
All right. We had missized at Drake. We'd missized and made some can koozies. And you remember at that time we made a can koozie that had a solid neoprene bottom on it. It makes kind of a formed can. Well, before that, you would always have can koozies that had slits at the bottom and fold flat.
Right.
This guy is wearing my ass out about a can koozie. I mean, it went on too long. It was brutal. Had this whole conversation, and then 30 or 40 minutes later, I'm driving home. And my dad and me pretty well talk at 5 o'clock every day. And it's been that way for 20-something years. Either he's going home or I'm going home, but that's when we talk. It'll be 3 days a week or 5 days a week. So at about 5 o'clock, he's called. And it was always kind of funny at Drake, too, because I'd still be in the office, and my phone would ring, and that was like everybody around me's
signal to go
exit
home.
bell. Oh, Jeff's dad's calling. It's 5. We can go.
Time to go.
Anyway, he calls me, and he's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Oh, man, he said, "What's wrong?" I said, "Well," you don't want to know. Don't worry about it. He goes, "What is it?" And I tell him about this ass chewing I just took over this can koozie. And why a can koozie that folds flat is such a better idea than one with a round bottom in it.
Mm-hmm.
And he cuts me off and he goes, "Any idiot knows that. That way you can take it and put it in your pocket when you're done. That's how you make a can koozie." And I was like, great. Now I'm going to hear about it from you. something went on and all that, and I was like, and he was getting to the point of retiring at this time of his age, and I made some wise remark about his job not being important because he was retiring. You're on your way out and all that, and he goes, well, I'll tell you one damn thing. I ain't been talking to a person about can koozies all day, and hangs up.
So, that's great.
Like I said, it's a dumb story now, but to me and to my dad, that was he was probably saying a lot of things that he wanted to say for a long time.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So anyway, so I have made a career and a life out of a job that he never thought was a job, but he's always been supportive.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, that's such a great story for a lot of reasons, but in his time, there wasn't an industry like you and I work in.
No.
That wasn't a career path. There's young people walking all over here that are making a good living, supporting their family with a hunting brand in an industry that there wasn't this amount of business to be done. There weren't this many hunters. So, I mean, in their defense, in his defense, I mean, from his, perspective, there really probably wasn't.
Yeah,
I mean,
that wasn't a thing.
Crazy that's
Yeah.
exploded and blossomed the way it has.
And that's just, a lot of that is just their mindset behind it.
Mm-hmm.
It never dawned on them that their favorite thing to do, hunting, someone was making a career out of that. Someone's job was to make those bullets that you shot, or to make that orange vest that you wore 3 days a year deer hunting and all that. That's just not wasn't his concept. Wasn't a lot of them's concept back then. So,
what did he say when you showed him the first waders?
He was really supportive. He said, "This is," and he's a man of very few words at times too. He was like, "This is a good product," and I remember it. He said, "This is a good product," and that was it. It was like, yeah, I would probably buy these and wear them.
Did you tell him how much they cost?
Yeah, slowly, and kind of sheepishly
mumbled.
Yeah. It was really cool. I missed. So if you go all the way back to 21, that July 21 of launch, remember we had the big launch party and all that. I wasn't there. I wasn't able to be with the team. My dad had lost his sister right at the same time.
That's right. I forgot
That's right.
that.
So I was home with him in the house I grew up with, and we got to, of course, on your phone and all that. I got to watch orders come in, and he got to sit there beside me and be a part of that. So. While I missed it with the team, it was kind of cool with my dad.
Yeah, I bet.
So
I bet.
That's a moment I'll cherish.
That's really neat. Talking about the price, my dad bought a pair of waders in the first 2 or 3. I don't remember, but I texted him and said, "You're buying a pair of these waders," and it was in June or something. It was before we had the launch. And he got his credit card statement. He called me and said, "How many pairs of these did you buy me?" I said, one. Just one. But he wouldn't trade them for the world. I mean.
No, and honestly, the people that have bought them and bought a second pair or bought a third pair or bought different colors that come out, like, I mean, they get behind it and they understand it and they appreciate it. It's not a fad product. It's not it's cool to wear. It is a good product, and we stand behind it.
Yep.
It's I like to tell, especially early on and still to the day, look, man, you're buying a wader. I'm selling you a wader. I'm gonna give you a wader. You're gonna give me $1,150, but I'm giving you a guarantee that as long as you take care of that wader, I'm gonna take care of you. Now, along the way, there's been we've had some hiccups here where we've been late to ship or we've missed an order or we've done some things, but we've always made a solid product and we stood behind it. There's been some customers along the way that I felt like I think I'm being abused in this situation. You know what? It's probably better if we both cut ties. You don't want to do that, but I mean, I got to look out for every single person that's bought a wader.
That's right.
And if someone is jeopardizing what we can do for everybody else, then it's not going to work. That kind of gets back to the whole nothing's on sale or no discount codes. And, that's something I've always kind of struggled with we've all kind of struggled with, but, in the beginnings when it was just me, I was like, how can I give you a discount and then you walk in who I don't know and I'm going to charge full price? Like, that's not, at the end of the day, the realist in me, that's not fair. That's not right. So no discounts, no sales, pay the full price, and we'll work together. I'll take care of you.
I know you can't show all your cards, but I also know that you're thinking about stuff that's going to happen in 25 and 26 and 27. Give us an outlook on where you think things are going at whatever level you want to.
Well, the brand is going to continue to grow. That's the customer spoken. They want stuff from us that we're not offering yet. They want different markets inside of the hunt that we're not offering yet. And then a lot of us here have passions outside of ducks. Ducks may be number one, or, it may be another species along there that's really important to us. That I want to make product and I want to wear my product when I go pursue this sport or this species or whatever it is. And look around. There's a lot of mouths to feed here. So you've got to grow the brand to support everyone that's here and to support what customers are asking for. So we're going to grow it.
You think you'll do more outside flagship stores like Stuttgart?
I don't know. That, of course, that's a big conversation. Jeff Farmer, one of the partners in it, big developer, always aggressive and wanting to do. I'm sure that we will. I don't know right now how to be 100% honest. Don't know how to do it. Yeah. Just to be clear and honest, I don't know how to do it. I don't know of another place that you could duplicate what happens in Stuttgart. So you've got to kind of take a little different path to it. But I also know the more that we can get outside of where we are now, you find new customers, and you've got to go to where the customers are. So, yeah.
So here's a challenging question: what does the 8 months of the year that are slow in Stuttgart look like in Stuttgart?
Going to be a lot of events. There is going to be a lot of events. We're going to give people reasons to come to Stuttgart in spring, summer, early fall.
Great.
Heck yeah. That's awesome.
There's just no other way around it. You've committed to a building of such size, and you committed to the Stuttgart community as a whole. I can't. That's the other side of it too. We can't just say to the Stuttgart community that accepted us and said, "Hey, you've got this great building over there, and you're going to bring in some additional tax money for us, and everything's great." You can't go, "Hey, we locked the door. I'll see you in October."
Right.
So that's not fair. So we will have events. We're going to give people reasons to come to the Chene store off season. Will it be the crowds that you have in season and early? No, of course it won't. But it'll be something, and we'll make it worth people's while to come.
Yeah, that's cool. Not to go back, but one of the first things we talked about was cool moments from the grand opening weekend, and I thought one of the coolest moments was John Stevens came and visited. And he's been texting Drake and I almost every day since then. And his favorite phrase is "Make Stuttgart great again." He is so happy that we're there.
So if on top of talking about John, which has always been a great guy, I really like John. But so Film Fest a year ago, the very first Film Fest, the word kind of got out that we were coming to Stuttgart to build. And he called and was like, "Hey, give me some idea what's going on." I was like, "Well, we're going to build a store, and it's going to be right there, right by you." And we're going to do a couple things, and we just kind of talked to it. And he immediately said, he goes, "I think that's great." He goes, I really do, because I think it's great. He goes, "To be honest with you, if this whole road here in front of Rich and Tone and Chene and Max and all that, He goes, if that thing filled up with waterfowl brands and became the Las Vegas Strip of waterfowl, he goes, how cool would that be?
Yep.
I was like,
Yep.
you know what? Yeah, it would be.
Yep.
So John, early on, which like anybody else, something's coming to town, what's going on? But man, he is very supportive.
Yep, you got to give him credit. In a small town, it's easy to be inward focused and hate the out of towners and all that, drama and jazz that goes with it in a small town. John's always seen things through a wide lens and a big picture.
He does, and he's very, it's very hard for me to not think of Stuttgart and not think of John.
Yeah.
He's very Stuttgart.
Absolutely.
He's very proud of where he's from. He's very proud of the community.
So is his brand.
And his brand and everything that he does. So he's accepting of bringing it.
I also thought along those lines, Jimbo was there with his wife and Peanut. That's classy. You got kind of the lead PR guy for Drake comes in, congratulates everybody, enjoys a beer with everybody. There were 3 or 4 other moments like that with people of notoriety in Stuttgart that I didn't know their name but had seen their face 100 times that came in and visited with everybody, and I thought that was pretty cool to see the impact that it's going to have on the local community.
And we're going to do some things too, like just different things, like Friday night before opener, and then on opener Milton Sosa came in, so it was cool to see him in there. He's getting close to 90 years old, and I was like, and I was just joking with him, but I said it out of a joke. I was like, Milton, I'm going to put your name on the back of this chair. I'm going to put a brass Milton on here and put it there. And so we'll get you a coffee cup and put your name on it. You can have coffee here forever. Just kind of said it like that. And later Jesse and then Brandy was there too. And they're like, we really should do that. There's some people in this community. We should do that. And I was like, great, let's do it. So, that was, again.
Tell people who Milton is.
Milton, he's a legend. Been there forever. It's different now because I'm so old and all the younger people are so young. They may not. He's been out of that store forever. But Milton was in Max. He was at the call counter, so he was a statue at the call counter at Max for probably 25 or 30 years.
He would say, I can't blow one of these cut downs, but this is what all the kids are buying. And he would sell one for you. I mean, he was just when we were selling and the Mondo, and that was the only 2 cut downs, he would gauge somebody and he would show them what all the normal duck calls were, and he'd say, and then these kids are blowing these newfangled cut down things. And
he's a character.
Thank you, Milton.
He is a character. Well, great. Anything else we should cover?
Man, I don't know. I'm not. Me. I'm not good at coming up with the conversation.
What is your actual job title here today?
Today. Now I am our Chief Operating Officer.
Okay.
So I kind of help make sure you kind of look at a brand and you look at what you have here and you look at it as a house. Here's a house. So everything on this side of the house is front of house. This is what customer sees. This is customer interactions. Everything over here back of the house, this is warehousing. This is way to repair. This is bringing product in from wherever and shipping it out and all that. So you kind of look at front of house, back of house, and your operating officer leans heavily into the back of the house, but he makes sure it flows into the front of the house, and the front of the house flows to the back of the house. So I kind of rally the troops and kind of make sure orders get in. I help Byron Womack with the warehousing. And
what a rock star.
Oh, yeah, man, Byron is absolutely. I hate calling out one person because you're going to always forget everyone. We have a ton of rock stars here, but I will give credit to Byron, man. He stole him away from UPS. Felt kind of guilty when we first hired him because he's been with us a couple of years, so it was early on. And, UPS, that's a career path. He had a career path. His dad's been there 30 years and all that, but he wanted to come, and he came, so we taught him warehousing and taught him some more.
He has learned so much.
And, Byron, I would like to see you expand until you're COO. Mm-hmm. And then I'm just everybody's annoyance.
He can do it.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, he can do it sooner than anybody probably thinks. I mean, that boy is very capable, and what he's learned kind of on his own just by having some drive is impressive. I'm really proud of him.
I tell all of them, tell a lot of people, there's systems people. So, we use our ERP and our accounting software and our warehousing software. The computer tells you what to do, tells you how to go around and pick an order in the warehouse. And then there's the physical side. You know, I'm a physical side person. If you need something done, I'll do it. If you want it done right, you should have called somebody else. But Byron walks that balance really well of understanding the system side of stuff and understanding the physical side of stuff. And he kind of married that together, and that's really, really unique in an individual.
Yeah. We can call him out. He's
he's
a past world champion.
I just don't want to leave anybody. I don't want to leave anybody.
He's a pal.
Else
He's
out.
fine.
I gotta have a bunch of
And
really good people.
Now, you got to say something negative about him to balance it.
Well,
so.
no, I won't
Well,
say
he's from
something.
Alabama.
Okay, there we go. There we go.
Instead of saying something negative about him, I'll admit something negative about me. He called me after he won Worlds and wanted to take a job in the outdoor industry. I told him not to. I asked him how much he was making at UPS and what hours he was working. And I was like, you need to stay right there.
Yeah.
You're not going to make that kind of money. You're not going to have that kind of career outset. He wanted me to hire him. He asked me for a job, and I just told him no. I told him I love you, but I don't have room. I mean, whatever you can make times 2, I need to feed my family.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have the kind of place for you. So it's watching him succeed gives me a lot of personal satisfaction because he's done what I didn't think he could do that. I really didn't think I didn't know him well enough to know that he had that capacity, but he has blossomed. And I didn't mean to turn this into the Byron Womack podcast.
No, but it should be. He's you should get him on and spend some
We
time
should.
with him. He's a really, really sharp
should.
person. And God, man, you know, you'll see it too. You know people. Jesse, my wife Jessie calls him an old soul because he's like a he
speaks
like an old
a
man.
Yeah, that's right.
He really is.
That's right. That's right. Speaking of Byron, we need Byron to have the day off next Friday.
Okay.
There's a world championship duck calling contest.
Oh.
We need Byron.
You need him on.
We need Byron. That's exactly right. I texted him the other day. He said, well, I might have to work. And I was like, come on, Byron.
I'll call you. We'll call Jeff.
You're not even going to have anything on sale on Friday. It's Black Friday. You're the only company in the world that doesn't put anything on sale. You'll be fine.
We'll get through this.
Well, look, thank you.
I think one thing I do want to say, it reminded me of that. You were talking about not having anything on sale during Black Friday. Remember that first year? We're like, we're not going to have anything to sell. We're not putting anything on sale. Why don't we be the anti-sale company? And for a week, we'll show a different hunting video in people's. I always thought that was like a great idea.
It was a great idea. That was the most oddly stressful thing that I ever participated in. Because it was like, you want us to do what? Just make 5 hunting videos of. So we told Dylan, like, we need 5 hunting videos.
Yeah. We're gonna
about what? Hunting.
Yeah.
What do you mean about hunting? Like, just go hunting.
Make a hunting video. Yeah.
Publish it.
Everybody else is sending out an email saying this is on sale or this is discounted or this is free shipping. We're going to send out an email of a 5-minute clip of a hunt. And Dylan's like, what's the story? There's no story. Just show
People went hunting.
Shot.
Yeah.
And we did. I mean, it was so funny.
You're overthinking this.
It was a great idea. Anyways, well, thank you very much for your time.
Yep.
Thanks for all that you've invested into this brand. Thanks for what you've invested into me personally. For a number of years, I owe a tremendous amount of what tiny bit of success I've achieved in this world to Jeff Jones in a multitude of ways. So I hope you have a great opening weekend.
Yeah, I do too.
Hope you don't have to share the hole with 25 people that you don't know.
I'm going to share it with, hopefully, the plan is for me to share it with a 9-year-old little girl.
Awesome.
So we're fired up.
That's great.
killer.
Yeah, so she loves it. So hopefully that's how it ends.
Good. I hope so, and I hope there's plenty of ducks and plenty of water for you.
Thank you very much.
All right, all our listeners out there, thanks for sticking with us. We'll catch you on the next one.
All right.
Thank y'all.
Join the team that is making a real difference. Ducks Unlimited is powered by people like you. With your help, we can continue to raise funds that drive wetlands conservation across the continent. Whether you are out selling event tickets, securing donations, or finding that next sponsor, we have a role for everyone. Sign up today to join your local DU chapter at ducks.org/volunteer or attend your local DU event. Ducks Unlimited, conservation for a continent.